This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you feel like your best, fam, you can do anything. You can accomplish all those goals in your life, make sure your family's good, and even start, who knows, a mildly successful podcast. Sometimes life gets you bogged down. You might feel overwhelmed. You're not showing up every day the way that you want to. But working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. The benefits of therapy are endless. It's great to just check in with somebody who can give you some perspective on life. Make sure that you're meeting all the goals that you've set for yourself in life. So whether or not you've been in therapy, now could be the time to give BetterHelp a shot. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out their brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Couldn't be easier. If you want an empowered life, therapy can get you there. So visit BetterHelp.com/madaboutmovies today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/madaboutmovies.
Right. I got passes to a screening tomorrow. That movie, The Internship.
Gosh.
So if either of y'all want to go, you guys can fight over the ticket. You know what would be even lamer than me and one of you guys going to the screening? Me going by myself to the screening.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, make yourself a cup of soda. I'm Kent Garrison.
I'm Brian Gill.
And I'm Richard Barton.
And this is Mad
About
Movies.
Da, 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 da.
You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy. Are you serious? Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Mad About Movies is an hour-long conversation concerning all things cinema. The first half of the show, we discuss movie news, movie rumors, and movie rumblings, and we talk about what's currently piquing our interest in the world of Hollywood. For the second half of the show, we go over our chosen movie of the week, and we give you guys our review. And as an added bonus, please stay tuned to the end of each episode for our weekly recommends, in which we suggest something you guys need to check out as soon as you can. This week, we are focusing our efforts on what, Brian?
This week we will be talking about The Great Gatsby.
Shall we?
Who is this Gatsby?
Do you know him?
War hero.
Mr. Gatsby doesn't exist.
Gatsby? What Gatsby?
This is probably the most well-known story, maybe, we've ever done on the show. I don't think we've done any adaptations, have we? Other than maybe the Evil Dead remake?
We did The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
That's about
Okay.
it.
Yeah. We had a good time talking about that one.
Yeah.
Coming into this one, I was a fan of The Great Gatsby, but I don't think any of us are as big of fans as we were of The Hobbit, going in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that'll play on our perspective. But we'll have to see.
I'll read Gatsby over Hobbit, so take that.
How dare you.
I probably would too, considering it's only like 160 pages compared to The Hobbit. So we'll have to see. But first, let's talk a little bit of movie news, movie rumors, and movie rumblings. Today, unfortunately, not a lot of movie news to report on, but we have a lot of TV news that I would like to discuss, if that's okay with you guys.
Fine with me.
We'll allow it.
First, I wanted to mention Saturday Night Live news. Two things to mention, actually. First thing, Bill Hader is leaving SNL after this season, in I think 2 weeks from now. So he's pretty much the only reason I'm watching SNL anymore. So when he leaves, I don't think I'm going to watch it, depending on who's the host now. I mean, I used to watch it every week because there'd be a few good Hader moments in there, They pretty much guaranteed every episode. So, thoughts on Bill Hader, Brian?
Sad day, definitely. I texted Richard this morning when I saw the news. I think we kind of expected that. Wouldn't you say, Richard? We kind of thought this would be his last season.
Oh yeah, I would have been surprised actually if it wasn't.
Yeah. So
he's got a lot of movies coming.
He's turning into a full-fledged movie star is not the right term, but he's going to be in a lot of movies over the next few years. So, but it is a sad day. Hader's a great part of that show. I think maybe one of the most underrated parts of that show. I think he's kind of the glue that has held it together at times over the last few years. And so I'm definitely sad to see him go. And I hope he'll come back and do the cameo spot from here and there, and bring back Stefan, because Stefan is my favorite Saturday Night Live character of all time, and I don't want to live in a world without Stefan. So,
yeah, definitely, Richard.
No, I mean I've loved this cast. To me, I mean, you know, it looks like Armison's staying around another year, and Kenan Thompson's staying around another year. But to me, this is kind of the end of the. Brian and I were talking about this earlier. The Wig, Hater, Wig, Hater. Seth Meyers is obviously leaving, which we'll talk about. Forte left a couple years ago. That kind of class, I think of them all together, and I think of them as one of the deepest classes of all time.
Totally.
And Hater, to me, was the kind of the superstar of that class, just with how versatile he was and how talented of a performer he was. And so, a great run though. He was on 8 years. Just one of those guys that always popped out the screen the minute you saw him. And fun. You know, he'll be back. We'll see him. He's not going anywhere. We'll see him in some movies, I'm sure. And he's got that movie coming out with Kristen Wiig later in the year. A sad but fun day. I think I'm excited now. I was already excited for this week's episode because, well, obviously Kanye West, but now I'm even more excited to kind of see the Hater farewell.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Hader's one of the few new era SNL cast members that kind of has screen presence on a movie. You know, I think Sandberg left SNL last year or 2 years ago, maybe even. And has he done anything since then except doing random Lonely Island cameos? You know what I mean?
He's got a pilot next year for Fox, and I know he's in that Adam Sandler movie, but I guess that was before he left the show. But that's about it. Yeah, he certainly hasn't taken off, but I do think he spent a lot of time doing the Lonely Island bit, and
totally.
Whatever that's worth. So
yeah, that's art right there. That's the only word I can choose to describe it is art.
Right.
So it's only a matter of time now till Sudeikis leaves. I'm guessing he'll probably be the next to leave. He was supposed to leave prior to this season, but the election, he was playing Mitt Romney. So if he had won the election, we don't. He probably would have stayed on for 4 more years at least. Right, right. So
yeah.
So we'll see. What do you think? Who do you think is the next to leave, Richard?
I think Sudeikis is gone. I'm
surprised Armison's still on. Though.
I think Armison's will be on for a while. I think he's such a sketch comedian, not unlike Tim Meadows and not unlike Daryl Hammond, where I don't know if there's much of a market for him now more than ever, right? I mean, now a lot of these SNL people, it used to be you did movies or you did nothing. Now, as we've seen with Parks and Rec and things like that, you can go on to television, 30 Rock, things like that. So there's maybe more of a market for Armisen later, but I think he's such a sketch comedian. Like Meadows and Hammond, he may do 12, 13 years on the show and just kind of do his thing. Yeah.
And he's the type of guy, too, that seems like he doesn't have too much of an ego about his place on the show, so he can fit into the background of a sketch just as well as he can, be the lead. Sometimes you go an entire week and you don't see him, and that doesn't seem like a huge issue for him or anybody on the show, and so I think there's some value in that to have that guy around, that kind of veteran presence who doesn't really necessarily have to be in 6 sketches a week. Yeah.
Think about, going on that veteran presence point, Bill Hader is in every single skit, it seems like, and he's the lead on pretty much everything. It's freaking crazy. It's going to be weird not having him on there, honestly. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Taron Killam is kind of the guy that they're
right.
I like Bobby Moynihan too. I think he's got some funny stuff.
He is funny. I think Killam Moore is going to be. You always kind of have that leading man that can do straight material as well as kind of goofy stuff. Farrell, Hader, Phil Hartman. So you'll have. I think they're kind of grooming Taron for that part. Moynihan is sort of a side. In that more Forte, Chris Kattan, Chris Farley kind of role. Yeah, it'll be interesting. They have a really strong female cast right now. Some of those new girls they added are really talented. Kate
Great.
McKinnon.
Abby Elliott. Yeah.
Abby Elliott's gone. She
Oh,
got
I
fired.
mean, Vanessa Bayer. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Vanessa Bayer.
Yeah.
Vanessa Bayer's great. So I mean, they have. I think they've done a good job in the last year of getting some people. So it's I always SNL is like watching a baseball team or a fantasy team or something. You have to kind of honestly, Forte, Armisen, Hader were not that great when they first started as a unit. You have to let these things kind of gestate and get used to writing together and working together. It's not the end of the world. There will be another really funny SNL cast in probably 3 or 4 years. Actually, I don't think, Brian and I have talked about this a lot. I think this has been a pretty bad year from a writing standpoint. They've had a really talented cast, but the jokes have been really lazy. Yep. So, you can invigorate it with some new writing and you'd be surprised. So I'm excited. Yeah. It's kind of, we'll start over again for the next 8 to 10 years. And I'm sure we'll have lots of, as long as Lauren's in charge. Lauren is has such an eye for talent. And, we think of these huge gaps in SNL when it's been really bad, and these have been 1 or 2 year stretches, and then it gets pretty good again. I totally trust his judgment, and hopefully the three of us will get jobs.
Exactly. Speaking of Lorne Michaels, he such a visionary guy. So he's taken the reins and sort of put himself in charge of finding the successor to Jimmy Fallon on the late night program. So, word came down this week. I wanted to mention it in movie news, movie rumors, and movie rumblings that Seth Meyers will be taking over for the late night program. So, probably the safest choice, I would say. And I think that's a good word to describe the whole situation. Very safe. You know what you're going to get. Very funny potential. For writing bits and everything, and sort of making the show his own. I think. More potential than I saw in Jimmy Fallon. I mean, I didn't see anything coming from Jimmy Fallon when they announced he was going to have a show. So definitely a little more excited for this one than I was for Fallon. So Brian Gill.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I've always liked Seth Meyers. I think he's obviously a very talented guy. I'm a Conan loyalist. I recognize that the Conan show is not nearly as good as anytime I watch a Jimmy Fallon show, I think it's great. And I recognize that it's probably better than Conan is, but I love Conan, and so I stick around for that. The one issue or complaint, I guess, that I might have with the Seth Meyers choice is that you're now backing up Jimmy Fallon with you run the risk of becoming redundant going from Jimmy Fallon to Seth Meyers. There's a lot of similarities. And so I guess we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. But I think it's a good choice. I think Seth will be good at that role. He was great on Regis and Kathy Lee when he did a few spots in place of Regis. Richard and I talked about before. I think that was his job to take if he wanted it. But maybe this is something that's more up his alley. Anyway, I think he'll be great at it. I don't know that I'm ever going to religiously tune into either of those shows. The late night talk show is kind of a fading art, obviously. But I think that you're right. That's a safe choice, and I'm sure he'll be good at it.
Richard.
Well, I mean, I love late night TV more than I think anyone loves anything, and so I love these breakdowns. I wanted Seth Meyers originally was my choice when Fallon got the job.
Sure.
I really thought he's a better joke teller than Fallon, which I've been. And Ken, I'm with you. I was very surprised at not only Fallon's success, but how deserved his success is. He's really good. He's really good. And Lauren has a great thing where he said, Jimmy will be successful because people like Jimmy.
Yeah.
And likability is a big thing. I think Meyers has a lot of that. Do we know, is he moving to L.A.?
I haven't heard.
I don't know.
It'd be weird to have them both in New York. So I would assume Meyers is moving to L.A. So that's interesting. I I don't really know what to think. I think Kent, you put it very well and succinctly. It's a very safe choice. It may end up being a very good choice. I think it is a little redundant. I don't know if their humor is that similar. Jimmy's much more sketch oriented and musically oriented, whereas Seth is more just straight joke telling.
Yeah.
But they look alike, kind of, and they're both kind of silly. There is something aesthetically similar about them. And they come from the same place, so I mean, I get your point there. So
I see it. I see Seth Meyers' show as being more of a kind of like the Daily Show. You know, I can see him doing more political humor, a lot of YouTube clips and stuff. You know, sort of kind of what Jimmy Kimmel has been doing. So I definitely see Jimmy Fallon as more of the, you know, how David Letterman is, you never know what he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? There's like the randomness is what's great about Jimmy Fallon's show. I think Meyer's show is going to be very structured, but still very good. I don't doubt it's going to be good. One person that I want to mention who I thought could have taken over and been great was Joel McHale.
Yeah.
I don't know why there wasn't more discussion on other people taking over. You know what I mean? It seemed like ever since they announced that Jimmy Fallon was taking over for Leno, it was like, okay, Seth Meyers. You know, it was like there was not even one other name really mentioned.
Well, I think part of it is, sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I think part of it is you have to find somebody who doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in actually acting and fleshing out a wider range of credits for the resume. Joel McHale, I mean, that's
obviously no one has seen Fever Pitch or Taxi.
yeah, but you know what I mean. I mean, Myers and Fallon both are not really don't ever seem like they're that concerned about being in a movie anymore. Conan is obviously the same way, has no ambition to act. Joel McHale,
I like Chris Hardwick too, but
I'll have to differ with you on that. I hate Chris Hardwick. I just can't stand him.
He's a poor man's Seth Meyers.
Sure. I understand his appeal. His appeal to me is, but it's I don't like him at all. But he fits into the same category of the guy who's not really an actor, but he's a performer and a presence, and so.
Richard.
Yes.
Who else did you say you would have liked to have hosted the late night program?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. I mean, Seth is a really safe choice, but then when you think about it, there's really no one else to choose. I thought it might be interesting, like how many times can you pick the brown haired white guy?
Yeah.
So I thought they might go with a female or
George Lopez. Yeah.
That one. That worked. I remember that show. I actually love that show. Yeah, right.
Lopez tonight.
That was the biggest joke. Every joke was racist. Every single one.
Wait, is he Mexican or something? I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I was voting for Barkley. I just wanted Late Night with Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I could.
And it's just him. It's just him in a lazy boy, and he tells some stories. At some point, he falls asleep, and then you just go to bed with him. He never gets to his guests. I thought it was either going to be. Look, it was going to be your comedian du jour. It was going to be Seth Meyers. I don't think there's any other comedian being considered. But I thought they might go really out of the box with it and pick somebody that you wouldn't think, like a Baldwin or, move Ellen to Late Night. Or, you know what I mean? Something not – obviously, both those are pretty outrageous. But, I mean, something like that kind of was a really kind of – yeah, or go with an unknown like they did with Conan. So – I was surprised. No, I wasn't surprised at Seth, but I don't think there was really any other comedy name that could be chosen.
Yeah, I agree with your point, Brian. How you said it's kind of might be redundant. You know, people. Yeah. How much do people love SNL? And it's like, I guess anyone who hosts Weekend Update is going to get a show now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is. I mean, that's your own little...
It's kind of the cherished role, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't really like Seth Meyers much when he did it with Amy Poehler on Weekend Update, but I loved it when Poehler left. As soon as Seth Meyers was the only one and he kind of made it his own thing,
Sure.
Yeah. You kind of felt like he was writing those jokes himself, do you know what I mean? And it wasn't like a performance. It was great. So yeah, we'll see. I got high
It's
expectations.
also important, as a late night host. This was another thing I worried about with Fallon, but he's proven me wrong. You really have to know how to work a writer's room and how to run a writer's room. I mean, every late night host, for the most part, is their own head writer.
Yeah.
And Seth Meyers has a lot of experience being the head writer on SNL. I mean, he was the head writer on SNL for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Which is obviously you write a lot of material, but it's also an administrative job. Like you are kind of the boss of the writer's room. It's a managerial job. And, as glamorous as a late night talk show host is, you have to put out an hour of show every day. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff you have to do. And I think Myers is very well equipped for that, pretty much having co-run SNL with Lorne Michaels for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So he is very well prepared. The way you can see that is pretty much any other talk show host takes about a year to prepare the show. Fallon took about 8 or 9 months of work before he ever went on the air. They're giving Seth Meyers 1 month. He's going to stay on SNL through January, and he starts this show in February. While that seems weird, it just kind of shows their confidence is, look, we're going to get some writers hired, and this guy's going to know how to do a show. I mean, he knows how to do it. So I think that month of prep time is pretty incredible, and it is definitely a vote of confidence in his managerial styles.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm going to miss Jay Leno, though, said no one ever. He'll get a show somewhere,
Yeah.
He'll be
Weather Channel.
He'll be around. I'll be around, guys. Don't worry.
He'll be high-fiving. He may come out and high-five us.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's how we're going to start every podcast. Yeah, Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention for movie news, Richard? Brian?
No, it's a very slow week.
I'll go. I've got one thing, and it is also TV related. The upfronts are taking place this week.
Oh yeah,
with NBC, Fox, CBS, and ABC rolling out their fall schedules. But I'm always fascinated by this process. Just the pilots that get picked up, the ones that don't, things like that. But the biggest news that came out, in my opinion, and I don't know if you guys are in the same boat as me, but Fox has announced that next summer we're going to get a 12-episode sort of miniseries run, reboot, I guess, of 24,
right.
The hit series 24. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. I don't know if either of y'all have ever been big fans of the show or if that even registered to y'all when that news came down this week.
I have only seen one episode of 24.
Okay.
Partly because I knew that the premise of the show is that everything happens, it's like an hour of a day or whatever.
Right.
So I knew that I kind of got the impression that if I missed one episode, I was kind of out of the loop on the
That's
thing.
true.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, totally.
So, I'm sure it's great, but I just never seen it, really. So, Richard?
Okay.
Yeah, I've always had this joke that my Dream 24 series is on the 18th episode, Jack Bauer figures everything out, and then he just goes to bed.
Yeah, just sleep.
And there's just six straight hours of just like a one of those weird alarm clocks from the mid-90s that glows red and just a dark screen.
Right.
And then somewhere in episode like 22, he gets up and pees.
Yeah.
He's getting older. And then goes right back to bed.
Right.
That's always been my Dream 24 season. But that being said, I saw season 1. I saw season 2, and I think I cashed out halfway through season 3. I don't know why. It was just like I had something on that night and forgot to TiVo it, and then never caught up. I worked at Borders with a woman who was madly in love with Jack Bauer, not Kiefer Sutherland, but Jack Bauer. Actually, had in love with him. Had posters all over her office.
That's normal. Sure.
Yeah. No, she's a really great lady, but that was her thing. And I really see the value of it. It's fun. It's kind of one of those things where I think this is interesting the way they're bringing it back, kind of cutting the run in half and doing kind of a mini series.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I mean, it shows that. I don't really remember under what circumstances it went off the air, though. Was it canceled? Did it just kind of flame out?
I think Sutherland wanted to do other stuff, and it had kind of run its course. The last season of 24 is, I think it's glorious, but it is kind of over the top and just insane. I mean, there's a scene in the last season, like, I don't know, the last episode or the episode pretty close to the end, where Jack just does, I mean, just one of the most ridiculous things it's ever done. And you just have a guy sitting there screaming, "That's Jack Bauer! That's Jack Bauer!" You know, and it just, it kind of almost becomes self-aware and ridiculous to the point that it'd probably run its course. But I am excited. I love the show. It's one of my absolute favorite shows. The whole thing, season 2 and 3 are kind of meh, but 1 and then 4 through 8 are great. More importantly, I think it's cool to see Fox and maybe other networks in the future go this route and run these kind of short seasons in the summer, especially when there's really nothing going on, that are maybe geared to. I think because it is a summer show, because there's so little expectation, you can see some things happen. Kind of what we talked about before about like Netflix and places and other mediums besides just the major 4 networks being a safe harbor for shows that we want to watch that aren't necessarily going to draw great ratings. And I think that's in my opinion, that's a step in the right direction for Fox or any of the big 4 networks to start doing short-term programming like that during the summer and not so much worrying about ratings, because it's always going to be better than like the rerun ratings of, I don't know, Bones or whatever.
How dare
Burn Notice.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's exciting, and I'm gonna watch it. You know, it's like I have a chance now to kind of start anew. So
Sure,
it's cool. That would be interesting to see if they do that with other shows. You know, that have a cult following. To do a little 10-episode run here and there every other year or whatever would be great.
Right. That's the way to do television, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's like their last chance
CBS,
at success, you know?
Yeah, if you're not going to do the CBS method where everything on your network is going to be super accessible to the largest group of people possible, then the way to do it is to do these 10 to 13 episode seasons and just not worry about putting them on Thursday night at 8 o'clock, but put them on Friday or put them on during the summer or whatever. That's a smart way, in my opinion, to build loyalty with the customer that might otherwise never watch a show on your network. You know?
Right. Yeah. Agreed. On the note of upfronts, I saw that Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series got picked up by ABC.
Yeah.
So exciting. I saw a trailer, and there was Marvel superheroes in it. There was the Hulk and some other guys, and Agent Coulson is apparently back. Clark Gregg, who's great. So
He is. This season
I'm
could
really
be
excited.
The fall schedule could be really interesting this year. I texted both of you guys earlier this week and just said we need to do when the fall season of TV starts, we need to all just commit to watching all the pilots and kind of coming and doing an episode of the podcast on the various pilots that we watch and just kind of grade them out. This last year, the 2012-2013 TV schedule, as far as new shows, was the worst I can ever remember. It's just not a single show that was appealing to me at all. But I obviously have no idea if any of these shows are really going to pan out. But there is a lot of shows that at least look interesting enough to watch the first episode and see kind of where we're at from there. So
yeah,
I
totally agree.
Good start.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to mention before we move on to the movie of the week?
Nope, I got nothing.
Richard?
I love both of you.
Thank you. Hey, man, fam, question for you. Do you own a small business, or are you a boss? Are you looking to hire awesome people, but you just can't find somebody to fill that role? Well, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites, all with one click. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Right now, you can post your jobs for free on ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. That's ZipRecruiter.com/mad. One more time, try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. Thanks to ZipRecruiter for supporting this episode of the Mad About Movies podcast. Hey, what's up, man fam? Kent here.
And yes, if you're hearing from me, you know it's time to talk about Blue Apron. If you haven't tried out Blue Apron by now, what the heck are you even doing? Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They deliver fresh meals straight to your door. All the food is fresh, it's sourced from local farms, and there's no wasted ingredients. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time now, and they have still, to this day, never let me down. There's tons of variety. Some featured upcoming meals include summer vegetable and egg paninis, soy glazed pork and rice cakes, skillet vegetable chili with cheddar drop biscuits, holy crap, and garlic butter shrimp and corn with green bean salad. So take it from me. Try out Blue Apron now. Go to blueapron.com/mad. That's blueapron.com/mad. Get 3 meals on us for free. Nothing goes better with a movie than dinner. So check out Blue Apron. blueapron.com/mad. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
All right, let's talk about Gatsby.
Mr. Gatsby, I'd like to know.
Exactly who are you, anyhow? Can't you see who this guy is? With his house, his parties, and his fancy clothes.
All right, so Richard Barton, I want to let you take the reins on this one. You saw this 30 minutes ago. So, and you're also, as
you're
our
our
listeners
literary
know,
expert.
our literary expert. Yes.
Okay.
So, go ahead, sir.
So I just lead with my review.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I like you said, I just got done seeing it, and that was by far the best Great Gatsby theme park ride I've ever been on. A little long, but it was great. No, it's kind of a joke. I mean, it's a theme park ride. There's nothing cinematic about it. It's an exceptionally 2D movie, which is ironic because like the only thing 3-dimensional about the movie is the 3D. Everybody is just so surface, and it doesn't make any. It just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make a statement. It can't decide whether it's farcical or not. Sorry, I'm at a loss of words. It's not. There are moments of actual value in it. DiCaprio basically plays Calvin Candy again, but I liked him much more with the writing of Quentin Tarantino and the Southern accent, as opposed to this weird old sporty accent he does. Tobey Maguire should never work again. Can we just all agree? I don't want to ever see him again. He's whatever charm he had was very childish, and now he's 30, and I have no use for him. I don't need, like Bud from Married with Children. We don't need you anymore. We're good. He is unbearably bad in this movie, and unfortunately, as Nick Carraway, much of it relies on him.
Right.
Joel Edgerton, is that his name? How do I say his name?
I think Edgerton.
Edgerton was just laughably bad.
I agree. And I love him, by the way.
I love him too.
He's
He's
favorite
great.
actors. Terrible in this movie. Yeah.
Great in Zero Dark 30. Great in everything else I've seen him in. He is absolutely terrible in this movie. Carey Mulligan is just she's fine, but like any actress could have played that part. Why get Carey Mulligan, who's one of the most talented actresses today, when like Hilary Duff could have played that part? That's a timely joke. Welcome to 2003. Is Hilary Duff even still alive? I don't know.
Yeah. She was on 2.5 Men this year, so she's
is that
doing well.
still on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, it's an exceptionally vapid 2D silly movie. I don't understand why they made it. There's some really great scenes of kind of, like I said, some of it is very thrilling. The theme park aspect of it. There's sometimes some really cool scenes that kind of take your breath away. It'd be great in 20 minutes at Universal Studios. Maybe you could have some smell-o-vision or something.
Right.
But other than that, useless. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah. I want to say, okay. I want to say one, I don't know. I've had such a hard time coming up with my thoughts on this film because I guess I respect the effort. The novel, The Great Gatsby is an incredible work. One of it's besides The Hobbit, it's probably my favorite literary classic ever. I've read it half dozen times. I read it yesterday just to make sure that I was remembering everything correctly. It's a great book. It's also completely unfilmable. And
yeah, absolutely.
You cannot. I mean, you're exactly right, Richard. It's this movie is two-dimensional. It's shallow. It's vapid. It doesn't have any depth to it whatsoever. And that is because if you're taking the source material just at its surface level, it's a pretty meh story. It doesn't really. Everything that is appealing about that book is through context and symbolism and the deeper meanings that you can't convey on the screen, that you have to convey in so many words. You know what I mean? And so I guess the positive, that I will say is I don't think that this book can be made into a film. If you're going to do that, if you're going to try it, I think that a guy like Baz Luhrmann is the only one that could do it, because you can turn it into a spectacle. I don't like Baz Luhrmann's movies at all. I've never seen one that I liked. I hate Romeo and Juliet. I really don't like Moulin Rouge. I saw 20 Minutes of Australia and I was on a cruise and it was showing in the big theater on the cruise ship, and I decided that I would rather go back to my room and watch Watchmen for the 50th time that week rather than watch Australia. I mean, it's not good, but I do understand that he has a certain style, obviously, and if you're going to try to turn this incredibly I don't even know how to put this novel that does not translate well to images into a successful movie, then you have to go with his sort of style, which is just kind of over the top and flamboyant. And so I guess if you're going to make The Great Gatsby, I guess I give them credit for at least going this route. But that said, I don't like this movie at all. I thought that Luhrmann's direction was really not that great. I was actually quite bored by the movie, which I certainly did not expect coming in, given, again, his flamboyant, grandiose style. I thought all of the exciting, over-the-top parts that you see in the trailers and whatnot, all of them are in the first hour or 45 minutes of the movie, and the back half is so incredibly dull and slow of pace, and so I guess I'll say this: I get why some people like this. I understand it's very theatrical and dramatic and whatnot, and if you're into the visuals that Luhrmann is known for, then I guess I understand why you like it. But I think it's honestly, I think it's crap. I don't think this is a good movie at all.
Well, Ken, I'm going to chime in before you get going because I know you'll have a lot of good stuff to say. The star of this book is the prose.
Yes.
Gatsby's sort of a mythical character that doesn't really matter. Nick Carraway's sort of a fop. The star of The Great Gatsby is how tightly written it is. So, like you said, you can't get that across in a movie. I mean, if you ever take a technical communication class, like not a English literature writing class, but actual technical communication, like how to write manuals or how to write advertising copy, things like this actually teach you the business and theory behind actual writing. Those professors will tell you that The Great Gatsby is the greatest book ever written because there's not a word wasted. It's very concise. Right. It gets exactly to the point. It's not flowery. It's the prose in that book is unbelievable. So, like you said, you're working at a handicap. It's a valiant effort. It's just not good. It's just not a good movie. Kent, go ahead.
Yeah, all good stuff. I wanted to say that my feelings going into the movie are basically the exact same feelings I had going out of the movie. I basically couldn't have seen this movie, and I could probably still talk about it in the exact same way on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's basically exactly what I expected from Luhrmann. You know, it's like I knew I wasn't going to get any Oscar performances in this movie, you know, considering it was pushed back from a December release last year to a May release this year. It's like, well, the acting's going to suck, but I mean, it's probably going to be a spectacle. Do you know what I mean? And given the trailer and everything, and Jay-Z being an executive producer on this film, I actually thought it was going to be a lot crazier than it ended up being.
Yes.
Which actually kind of, I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, there's very few moments of like where I was like, okay, no, that's just over the top. Do you know what I mean? But in like a movie like Moulin Rouge, you know, they walk into a bar and then all of a sudden there's trapeze. You know, it's like, what is going on? There's no logic used at all. But I mean, I really feel like, you know, Luhrmann with his other work, you know, with Romeo and Juliet especially, he sort of used the story as just the story, you know, as the skeleton to tell, or as a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like the Great Gatsby, the story is the same as the book almost, but its themes is what's different. Do you know what I mean? It's like, especially with Shakespeare, it's like one day Baz Luhrmann read Romeo and Juliet, and then in his mind's eye, that's what he saw, you know, was that film. So it's like, basically all we're getting with this is his interpretation of The Great Gatsby. Do you know what I mean? It's not absolutely. Like, it's to me, it's so falsely unrealistic that it's just like, almost like parodying the book. Do you know what I mean? It's like trying to, I don't know what to say. Like, there's aspects of it that are surprisingly accurate. Like, I read the book, you know, 3 days before I saw the film, or I finished the book again, and like there were specific lines that I remember from the book that have no bearing on the story. Do you know what I mean? It's like certain things they chose to make accurate, but there's certain huge things that they chose to make inaccurate, like the whole fact that Nick Carraway's in like a
sanatorium,
basically sanatorium with alcoholism, when basically he says in the book even that he's only been drunk 2 times in his life or whatever, you know. I think that's basically just to hammer home to the audience that don't trust this story that Nick Carraway is telling. It might not have happened this way. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that's kind of the message Baz Luhrmann was giving to the audience is don't trust. This is just the way I'm interpreting this story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but some of the music in it, I know Baz Luhrmann's like Tarantino. He likes to throw crazy music in there sometimes, but some of it was insulting. Like, honestly, like "Crazy in Love" by Beyonce. Are you kidding me? Like that would have been cool in 2004. Honestly.
Yeah, I actually really, I don't know that I love. You know what I did? I like the anachronistic music, and that's really the only part
I loved
of like
it in the
Moulin
second
Rouge
half.
that
I loved
I
it in
liked.
the second half. Like,
But I felt like it disappeared in the second half. I felt like
when the
all
indie
that
band
stuff
started coming out is when it got emotional to me. It felt so tacked on in the beginning, you know. It's like,
when Lou Bega's Mama No. 5 came on, that's when I was like, this is going somewhere.
Yeah. No, I thought that was like I said, if you're gonna do this story, then you kind of have to go off the rails and do something crazy like that. And I'm shocked. Honestly, I'm shocked that it was as reserved as it is. Just kind of like what you said, that it does go so close to the book in so many ways, and yet it misses the point at the same time. And it's like, so if you're gonna do this story so close to the source material, but you're not gonna, I don't know. I needed Luhrmann to honestly go crazy over the top the way that Moulin Rouge is in order for this to be successful, in my opinion. And again, I don't like Moulin Rouge, but I felt like that's what had to happen in this one to make it work. I don't know. I think you almost have to take this movie on 2 levels. You have to judge it, one, as just a movie, as just a standalone film, and then also as the interpretation of the book. And I think it fails on both levels. I think as a movie, it just what Richard said, especially, gosh, some of the performances in this movie are just so bad.
Yeah.
And
like,
again,
it's almost like a parody, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the entire thing is a costume party. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think Joel Edgerton is great, but he's this is such a one-dimensional, brutish character that there's nothing there to.
That was originally supposed to be Ben Affleck.
Ugh. Either way, I don't honestly. It could have been freaking Gary Oldman. I mean, it could have been anybody in that. For the way that is written, there's no way that anyone could have drawn anything positive from that character. It's just such a one-dimensional beatdown of a character. Tobey Maguire is awful. Did you guys feel like he was trying to talk like an old man in all of his...
He was trying to sound like he had authority to his voice when he was narrating. But it sounded like Peter Parker, like whining. Yes, you know what I mean?
This would have happened like 6 weeks after the summer was over. Like it doesn't. I don't know. It was like Baz Luhrmann wanted us to think that Tobey Maguire was narrating this 40 years later. I don't know.
Him and Rose were sitting there with the necklace.
Yeah, it's just I don't get that. And then as far as the interpretation of the book, like we said, it can't possibly translate to the screen to begin with. But if you are going to do it, here's my 2 huge complaints: translation from book to film, and then I'll shut up because I know I've been talking way more than anybody else. But totally missed on Daisy's character, Daisy Buchanan.
Yeah.
They made her
in
up.
The book, she was like a prostitute, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hooking up with dudes all the time.
Yeah, she is.
And she's a manipulative hoe bag. I mean, she's just a horrible human being. And in the movie, she's so sympathetic, and she's the victim of her circumstances. And that really turned me off to what was going on there.
It really, just something about this, Ryan. It really made me angry that it basically made Gatsby and Daisy a love affair together instead of Gatsby being weirdly obsessed with Daisy like he is in the book. Do you know what I mean? It's like he has no right to love her. But in this, it's like they've been in love all along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the other big complaint, the other thing is I think part of what makes The Great Gatsby, the novel, so great, other than as Richard mentioned, just the prose, which is just so spectacular. Gatsby is such a mysterious, unknown character, and you get. The great thing about this book, and like I said, I reread it last night, and it just reminded me of how great it is. You get to see his character unfold along with Nick Carraway and the rest of the characters in the book, and you just become more and more enwrapped in his character and want to know more, and you only get little tidbits here and there, and you never know what's true and what's not. I think that's what makes the book so great, and they basically give you everything about his story. I mean, it's like an origin story almost in the beginning. And so you know almost everything there is to know about this great, mysterious character.
And that his name's not really Gatsby and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just... It's shocking to me that somebody who can read that... It's shocking to me that anybody can read that book and obviously care about that book, or why would you make a film based off of it, and yet miss this central point to what makes it so great. It's just, I don't know. I'm very disappointed in that aspect of it, and it just made me long for the book. And I'm not one of those people that constantly holds up, the book and says, well, the book is better than the movie. But man, that's coming out of this movie. That's all I could think of was I've got to go read the book. I've got to go read the book and get this bad taste out of my mouth almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did either of you see Anna Karenina?
No.
Okay. So this is kind of what you would hope they would do with Gatsby. So Tom Stoppard, who's just a magnificent playwright, a really funny guy, wrote the script for it, and he just totally changed. And Anna Karenina is almost unfilmable too, like Gatsby, and they just changed everything. The whole play. Or the whole story takes place in a playhouse, in a theater. There's different plots. It's just such a loose adaptation. They've totally reimagined it. I think Gatsby, that's the only way to do this.
Sure.
And it's really it's 85% kind of to the book, and then just with these weird, like you said, like all the reveal on Gatsby and stuff, which is defeats the whole purpose. I mean, it's not The Great Gatsby anymore. It's this really ironic title, right? That's why it's called that. It's wonderful irony, but instead they just get that out of the way. This movie should just be called just Gatsby and Gatsby and Bros or something. And it's that you're right, and that's something I should have brought up. And good job, Brian, catching that. Ruining the mystique of that character immediately takes all interest away from that character.
It's a crime. It is a crime, honestly.
Yeah, like the stuff when I was talking earlier about the stuff they chose to include, like. The stuff they chose not to include, like the part in the book where Gatsby's dad comes, and that's how he finds out about Gatsby's true past,
Yeah.
And the whole funeral sequence, basically, at the end, with people reflecting on Gatsby and everything, it's like basically the end of the book they don't include in the movie. It's like, they tried to make it a love story, like you were talking about the prose, and I think what really makes The Great Gatsby the great American novel is not the story, because it's really not that great of a story. Do you know what I mean? Not much happens, No. It's basically a lot of dudes getting drunk and talking, and there's somebody gets killed, and it's not, like when you're in high school, you always get angry at it because you're like, wow, we had to read that. Nothing really happened in that book. You know what I mean? It's not the story that's great. It's the way it's written. It's the words flowing on the page. It's the fact that it leaves you up to your own interpretation of the story. Do you know what I mean? And so, unfortunately, Luhrmann only gave us his interpretation of the story and none of the themes presented in the book. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you said, very flat. Especially the first half, I thought it was almost cartoonish with the accents they were speaking in, these 1920s, like roaring 20s accents.
How'd it go, old spot? That's pretty fun,
No, the women especially. I thought, it was, especially Daisy and Richard, our favorite, Isla Fisher made an appearance.
I know.
Better in this or Now You See Me, Richard?
This, because I didn't want to pull my tonsils out with a salad fork.
I thought that Luhrmann was desperately trying to show the audience that, hey, guys, guess what? This was a book first. This used to be a book. They were literally showing words on the screen as they were being said, like a PowerPoint or something.
Made for 8-year-olds.
Yeah. I confused me at the end. Let's go into spoiler territory now for Great Gatsby. If at the end when Jason Clarke's character comes and shoots Gatsby, why was there no security in Gatsby's house whatsoever? Like, isn't he rich?
I'm not going to waste my time trying to figure out the logistics of this movie.
Do you know what I mean?
You guys
like,
can solve that.
If this guy's a billionaire or whatever, didn't he have anybody watching his house?
Like, one guy was standing right there and just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, his butler or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I did not care for the way that he brought that to life either. I thought it was kind of a misfire.
They hammer you over the head in this film with the green light.
Yeah.
Like, in the book, I think I remember, like, last week I paid attention to it when I read it. It was at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. Is when they mentioned the green light. It's like, there's at least 5 sequences in this film where they show it, and it's just like a sweeping shot of the ocean with fog and this light. It's like the same shot over and over again. Like, we get that there's a green light. It's cool. But I thought there was stuff to praise about this movie. I mean, it's cool to look at. I mean, it's basically a 2.5 hour music video,
Yeah.
Costumes were cool. I'm sure come Oscar time, people would be talking about the costumes and the cars and everything. Production design was pretty good. The cinematography was annoying. Also,
I hated it. Hated it.
Better than Now You See Me.
Yeah. No, it was way better than Now You See Me. Yeah. It was watchable.
Did you guys see it in 3D or 2D?
I had to see it in 3D. Yeah.
3D.
Okay. I saw it in 2D because I hate 3D. I thought a lot of the shots, especially anything like the car chases, anything where there was real movement on the screen was horribly shot. It was out of focus. And I couldn't tell if that was done purposefully or if it was stuff that was shot for 3D that just looks like crap in 2D. But regardless, I hated the cinematography in the movie. I hated the shot selection. I thought it was very distracting how bad, just generally just how bad it was. And I don't know if that came across in the 3D viewing for you guys, if that was just the unfortunate thing of seeing it in 2D, but it was awful on the print that I saw.
Yeah. I honestly would have been a little bit offended had anyone else directed this movie, though. Do you know what I mean? Like you guys said, it almost gets a pass because it's Baz Luhrmann, and the fact that it's over the top and doesn't follow any of the themes is exactly what you expect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the characters are going to be named Gatsby and Caraway, but that's pretty much
right.
It might be the only thing we get here, but I'm still willing to accept that going in. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Any other thoughts? Anything else you did that you guys liked about it? I mean, we talked a lot of hate. Anything you guys liked?
I thought DiCaprio was okay. I mean, it wasn't one of his better performances, but I think a mediocre Leonardo DiCaprio performance is better than a lot of people's best performances, and so I enjoyed that. And I do enjoy. I think Richard mentioned there are some, or maybe it was you can't. There are moments throughout the movie that are pretty good, and I think all of those, for the most part,
I liked the whole basically the climax of the film. You know, where the meeting between Egerton and DiCaprio. I thought that was probably the best moment in the film. The tension in the room, and like after the fight, you know, McGuire's just the third wheel, you know, and he's just kind of like, what do I do now? You know, I thought that was. That was okay. Pretty good.
I mean, I would rather watch this again than...
That was the only moment in the film where we got any dialogue, any legit dialogue or acting. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, finally, we're getting something here. So, yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate my life while I was watching it, and so I didn't really hate my life while I was watching it, so that's at least something, but that doesn't mean it's good. More than anything, the good moments in this movie just reminded me of how great the novel is, because I really truly felt like most of the best moments in the film were taken almost word for word directly from the book, and that made me remember how much, because it's probably been 5 or 6 years since I'd read the novel. It made me remember how much I love it. So go read the book, kids. I mean, seriously, it's required reading in my opinion.
Yeah. Richard, anything you enjoy about it?
No, not really. End credits. The end credits were alright.
Yeah, and end credits look great in 3D. I'll say that. So what would you grade this, Brian?
In the review I put up today, I gave it a C+. Having now spent an hour talking about it, I'm changing it to a C. So
okay. Richard?
I'm in the same range. Probably C-. Probably liked it a little less.
Yeah, I would say a C, solid C for me. I would say 3.5 stars, maybe 3. Not a complete failure considering it's Baz Luhrmann. That's basically my synopsis of it. It's not worse than Australia. So I mean, what else do we want? He'll probably, who knows when we'll see another movie from him. It's kind of weird, He writes his own movies and he's kind of a weird guy, So
yeah.
Really kind of an interesting. I don't think this is going to be a film that people talk about in 10 years, Just like no one talks about, Romeo and Juliet anymore as anything significant and cinematically. So, any other thoughts on this before we move on to weekly recommends?
No, I'm done. I got nothing.
Who knows? Yeah, like I said, maybe we'll have to talk about this later in the year when award season comes out. I don't think it'll hold up for anything, but you never know.
I hope not.
I bet maybe costume design. I can see it being nominated for that.
Yeah,
but that's it.
Yeah, it should win that, I think. I mean, those are great costumes. Nothing's going to be more extravalent than that.
Yeah, I thought the cars were awesome, by the way.
Yes.
Didn't you guys? That was the highlight of the movie, was seeing those freaking cars.
Those cars were awesome.
They were. So let's move on to weekly recommends. Brian Gill.
I I've been watching almost exclusively this week. I've been watching The Office, just to try to. I've been trying to watch every single episode leading up to the finale on Friday. So I haven't been able to get much time to watch very many movies. But there's a movie that came out on Blu-ray, I think last week, that I just ordered today. So I haven't got a chance to rewatch it. But it's one of my favorite movies, and one that. I don't know. I think our generation maybe has kind of lost over the years because it's kind of old. It's much older, and that's the Great Escape, which was made in 1963. It's a war movie about basically POWs trying to escape from a Nazi prison camp, and with Steve McQueen and who else? James Garner and a ton of other guys that you recognize from that time, Charles Bronson, Richard Attenborough, James Coburn, etc. Great film. One of those movies that like your dad really likes, and as a kid you're like, this is stupid, and then when you're older you check it out and you realize that it's a great movie. Definitely worth picking up. It's like $8 on Amazon for Blu-ray. I've got a DVD copy that I bought like 5 or 6 years ago for $5 or something at Walmart, and it really is a great movie. Have you guys ever seen this?
I have seen that movie.
Okay,
I have not.
Definitely check it out, Ken. It's in my opinion, it's one of the best war movies ever. And Steve McQueen, I mean, anything Steve McQueen is in is pretty great. But he's just such an awesome guy. He's got there's a few iconic shots and scenes throughout the movie that you probably recognize even if you haven't seen a movie, just from watching montages on the Academy Awards or whatever, playing Seen It, things like that, that just jump out at you from the screen. But the whole movie's great, totally worth seeing, and it, like I said, it just came out on Blu-ray for the first time, so I encourage anybody to just if you've never seen it, just blind buy it, pick it up on Amazon for $8 or $10 and give it a shot, because it's a very good movie.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out for sure. There's no excuse for me not to have seen it at this point. It's been 60 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it. Hey, I want to recommend a documentary. I know it's a shock. I watched it on Netflix. It is made in about 2010, I think. I don't know if it got an Oscar nomination. I think it did, actually. Brian, you might have seen it. It's called Brooklyn's Castle. And this documentary, basically about this intermediate school in Brooklyn, which is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And it's basically about their chess team. And their chess team has won like 30 straight national chess championships or whatever.
Okay.
So it's about the culture of the school and how all the cool kids are the kids that play chess, and not the kids that play sports, really.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting documentary. I definitely suggest checking it out based purely on a documentary standpoint. It's a great documentary, even if you don't like chess or have never played. I actually have played chess. I played a ton. I was actually in the tournament circuit when I was in elementary. I had it at my old school until I moved when I was in 5th grade. So it really brought back a lot of memories of going to these tournaments and how serious kids take it. This is something as simple as a game of chess. And just how great of a game chess is. It's like they say in the documentary, there's more possibilities of games of chess than there are atoms in the universe. So just a really interesting documentary. Check it out. It's on Netflix. It's free to watch if you have an account. Brooklyn's Castle is my weekly recommend.
I'll check that out.
Check it out. Richard.
Okay, I've got two potentials. Should I do a TV show or a book?
TV show.
Okay. So
I did check out Lampum's Quarterly, though, and that was awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Really cool.
Lampum's isn't the design beautiful of that that?
I want to buy a subscription, but it was expensive.
It's super expensive, but it's great to flip through when you're at the bookstore. Okay. So my television show of the week is Brian and I've talked about let's start over. I've talked with Brian about this a number of times, tried to get him to watch it. I know I eventually will. And it's fitting this week with our news of the week. It's my favorite sitcom of all time, The Larry Sanders Show.
Yes.
which is about talk shows. So with Seth Meyers taking over for Jimmy Fallon, it's always good to go back and revisit that bad boy. One of the funniest comedies ever. It's so innovative. The writers that have come from it, Judd Apatow and co. and Shandling's so good. Rip Torn. I mean, you can't. Jeffrey Tambor. The cast is unbelievable. It's so well written, and it's so weird to see that type of comedy come out of people with like haircuts from 1992, because the comedy is so modern and subtle and brilliant. And couldn't recommend it higher. My favorite show of all time, Larry Sanders Show. It's on DVD now. You get the whole box set. It's good times. It's on Netflix too.
I think I was watching an interview with Jonah Hill or something a couple weeks ago, and he actually said that it was his favorite show of all time too.
It holds up.
He said he thinks it's the best show ever made or whatever. So
it holds up so unbelievably well.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, seriously, Kent. But watch a couple tonight and try not to laugh out loud.
I will, definitely. Anything else you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
Nope.
That's it.
Now you see me. Don't go see it.
We'll say that all. That's how
I will say that until it releases. Yeah.
Even after that too, just to warn, just to make sure everyone knows.
If you're at Redbox,
if you're at Redbox, you see Now You Can See Me. Don't be tempted. It is not worth your dollar.
Don't do it. Actually, yeah, you should actually buy them and break all the discs. Just do a public service to the community.
Take one for the team.
Anything else you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
No,
that's it. Or we're done. All right. Until next time, we will see you guys at the cinema.
Yeah, we will. All right.
Goodbye.
See you. Bye.